It's Clariel. I can finally leave this hell. All I have to do is read it and I am free. Yes, I'm free!
What is this? It's Clariel. I've been waiting over a decade for this book, but if I read it, I'm going to probably have to wait another decade for the next one. I can't do this to myself.
You must read it, Alexandra. You must read Clariel.
No! 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 Welcome to our review of Garth Nix's Clariel. So this is what it's like on the other side.
Yep, we have finally escaped the darkness of eternal anticipation.
What?
You know, like that black hole you get sucked into when you're stuck waiting for a sequel.
Oh yeah, we've been in there for so long, I kind of stopped seeing it.
What were you seeing?
Well.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
That was weird.
Yeah, that's what happens when you stare into darkness for too long.
I thought it was supposed to stare back.
Yeah.
Anyways, Clariel takes place in the world of an old kingdom, a world that was set up in a series that started in the mid-90s. The first 3 books of what were a trilogy were Sabriel, Clariel, and Abhorsen. These books were about a world across a wall that separates the mundane world from the magic one. It was full of free magic, but it was such a corrupting and chaotic force that they created the Charter. The Charter is a more biddable form of magic that is generally safer and a lot less corrupting.
Of course, free magic and charter magic are still at war with one another, and so different factions were set up to keep the charter magic strong. 5 great charters knit the land, together linked hand in hand, 1 in the people who wear the crown, 2 in the folk who keep the dead down. 3 and 5 became stone and mortar, 4 sees all in frozen water.
That means royalty is 1, the wallmakers are another, then there are the Clare, seers who live in a giant glacier, and the Abhorsen, who make sure the dead stay dead.
Sabriel was an Abhorsen, and she defeated evil free magic creatures that threatened the land. And Clariel helped her defeat another evil free magic creature in the 2nd and 3rd book. The series ended in 2003, and that was that.
Or it was supposed to be that. But then Nix put out an anthology of short stories featuring trouble that happens after the series. And shortly after that, he announced that he would write another novel featuring the downfall of one of the villains he previously introduced.
It was going to be a story about an extremely powerful Abhorsen who falls from grace. So we waited, and we waited, and we thought, okay, it'll come out soon. And we waited some more. Then we forgot we were waiting for something and moved on with our lives. Fast forward 10 years later, and surprise, this book is out and we're holding it in our hands. But was our 10-year wait really worthwhile for it? But before we go into that, the plot.
Clariel is a story about an Abhorsen who becomes a necromancer using free magic instead of charter magic. She lived long before Sabriel, but eventually she was known as Clor of the Mask or Clor No Face. Our origin story begins in Belisari, the capital of the Old Kingdom, where the king decided he does not want to rule. The only problem is his successor has disappeared into the Nether.
The guilds have taken over the rule, specifically the goldsmiths, who are led by this man named Gilp. He wants to solidify his rule any means necessary. Clariel and her family have just moved to the city because Clariel's mother, Jaciel, is a goldsmith and she wants to expand her business and have the option to make better pieces.
Clariel hates the city and her one dream is to live solitary in the forest. Is she interested in men? No. Is she interested in women? No, not interested in women either. She's pretty much not interested in people in general. The only problem is that her parents are not interested in having their only daughter go traipsing into the forest to, dwell. Yeah, that's pretty much all she wants to do is dwell.
Clariel and her family slowly get caught up in Kilp and his son Aronzo's plans to take control of the city. This is not only because they are related to the Abhorsens, but Clariel is also the king's closest living and locatable relative. If Aronzo can marry Clariel, it would do a great deal to secure Kilp's power.
Clariel is eventually forced to give up her dreams of becoming a professional forest dweller and put them on hold because Kilp mainly just makes his ambitions too difficult to ignore.
He basically kills her family.
This is a great setup for someone who falls from grace. Anakin Skywalker. Someone who wants something but can't see any other way to get it except for a walk on the dark side. But my god, if she could just stop whining.
Clariel is one of the story's worst enemies. Yes, she has life goals. When people ask her what she wants to do with her life, and they ask her what she wants to do with her life, she can confidently say, I want to go to the forest. Which is great.
But all she talks about is the forest. Every second thought she has is about getting to that forest and getting there now. She's been gone from the forest for 2 weeks when the book starts? What's her damn rush? Is it going to go somewhere? Did she leave a time bomb there before she left, which will go off in a month and turn the whole thing to matchsticks if she doesn't get back there? No! All she has to do is deal with her shit, and then she can go live there until the thing turns to dust.
Instead, we spend 70% of the book listening to her obsess over the forest, when there are clearly more important and more interesting things going on than thinking about tree trunks.
To the point where even the brutal murder of her family barely focuses her. She watches her mother get slaughtered, and she still considers running off to the forest to frolic.
This is so fun!
It is this obsession with the forest that forces Clariel into the desperate action that starts her downward spiral into becoming a free magic necromancer.
Characters other than Clariel have a lot more going for them. There's Beltiel, Clariel's distant cousin, who is obsessed with the duties of the Abhorsen, duties that the current Abhorsen is actually shirking. He's trying to learn as much magic as he can so that if a crisis arises, he's ready. And he's freaking adorable.
There are also the two teachers, Master Garion and Mistress Adder, a previous Abhorsen who abdicated her role while she was still young. Finding out more about these characters would have created a strong cast that would have softened Clariel's laser focus. But Clariel, having no interest in anything, has no interest in these characters, so instead we're forced to just listen to her whine.
And because this book is a prequel to Sabriel, there are no reoccurring characters, except for one.
Oh, Mogget, one of the most fantastically interesting characters you will ever come across in fiction. He is this extremely powerful, extremely ancient free magic creature that has been forced to serve the Abhorsen in the body of a little itty-bitty white cat.
Finally! Someone whose life is more pathetic than mine.
And let me tell you, your childhood has conditioned you to love talking cat sidekicks. But if you've read Sabriel, you know just how dangerous a free Mogget is. And it's so easy to forget that because he's a friggin' talking cat. But maybe you should be more focused on his backstory and try not to forget that he's a monster.
But nothing will let you forget that you are back in a world you love. Charter magic, paper wings, necromancer bells, the Abhorsen's house in the middle of a furious waterfall, surcoats. You know, I've never actually understood the function of a surcoat, but I've always wanted one.
It goes over and... Yeah, I know, me too, but it feels so good to have this back. Even if the heroine is a little bit hard to take, it's so great to finally have this series back. And the second Clariel stops sounding like a broken record, she's cool.
But was it worth 10 years?
I mean, the thing is, I really, really liked the ending of this book. And I don't want to go into too many details because I don't want to spoil it for everyone, but Nix leaves a lot ambiguous. And I think if the first 200 pages was as strong as the ending was, you wouldn't have felt as let down as you did.
The thing was, we were promised the fall of Clariel, how she became a necromancer and all that jazz. But what I felt like we got was how she became predisposed to falling sometime in the distant and unknowable future. It was like if they rolled the credits on Star Wars 3 just after Anakin screws up, but he still has time to, redeem himself somewhere in the future. And then the author says in the afterword that, I don't know what happens, but we're moving on now.
I guess it just really depends on how hard-boiled you like your Lucifer Fall stories. But don't forget that he also said in the very same afterword,
yes, there is a sequel to Abhorsen, but that means...
So we're still stuck in this darkness of eternal anticipation thing?
Yep.
How long do you think we're going to be stuck here this time?
Probably until the next book comes out.
So like another 10 years?
Yep.
Great.